Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? How are we feeling? Woo! Awesome. I'm so excited to see all of you here today. This is super exciting. It's been like almost 2 years since we've been in person. And just to see people out here walking, standing on the field, it's just really awesome. Actually, I'm gonna take my mask off because we're outside. I'm super excited to introduce the rally today. We have a number of really awesome speakers today. I can't wait for you guys to hear all about them and hear their wise words. But in just a few minutes, our community will make history by being one of the first. Wait 1 minute. Before we do that, I want to do a quick land acknowledgement of the land that we stand on right now in the University of Connecticut. So I'm going to invite Sage Phillips to come up to the podium to do a land acknowledgement.
Good day, Louise. No child, but a Wapskeg, Wabanaki. My name is Sage Phillips. I come from the Penobscot Nation. We are the Wabanaki people with homelands in what we currently know as the state of Maine. I'm also the president of NASA and the student coordinator for the Native American Cultural Programs, and I am honored to give the land acknowledgement here today. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the territory of the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Golden Hill Pagusset, Scaticook, Nipmuc, and Lenape peoples who have stewarded this land throughout the generations, and we thank them today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sage. Now I will go into my speech. In just a few minutes, our community will make history by being one of the first universities in the country to recognize that racism is a public health crisis. Today, countless years of hard work, pain, sweat, tears, all come together to reach a new moment we have never seen before at UConn. What do we mean when talking about declaring racism a public health crisis? What can a declaration do for us? I have been an activist and an organizer for the past 2 years now, and countless times I have seen promises made that were never followed up, legislation crafted but never enforced, thousands of people taking the streets to protest but never seeing that energy construct into meaningful action. When this declaration is certified and enacted today as an official declaration of this university, I know that we must and will not stop here. While we are here to witness this historical moment that will be talked about for years at this university, the history will be meaningless if we do not take action. We must hold each other accountable to achieving these goals of creating a more diverse, inclusive, and equitable place for all of us. There is no debate that racism exists within our society. It exists when students of color are denied necessary services to combat mental illness. It exists when students at this university go to bed starving because they cannot afford the meal plans or the other food resources near and around campus. It exists when structures and policies within this university make it nearly impossible to mandate a 1-credit pass-fail anti-Black racism course. It exists when cultural centers are struggling to provide the necessary academic and cultural resources for students on this campus because they are not adequately funded. Ooh, I lost my spot. Okay. It exists when students of color are displaced and must rely on UConn as a safe shelter for them because the increasing effects of the climate crisis we see in these communities. We may not see it right in front of us, but racism exists, and it has some of the most serious impacts to students of color on this campus. We must not let this declaration be just another performative action that happens all too often at this university. As your student representative, as your student chief diversity officer, it is my responsibility and all of our responsibilities to hold each other and this administration accountable when it comes to declaring racism a public health crisis at this university. We now must prioritize how we battle the effects of racism that are deeply affecting students of color on this campus to the point that they are dropping out of school. Today's declarations means this, that from here on out, for as long as it takes, this university will be unmistakably willing, able, and determined to address the serious health issues that exist within racism. It means that words and empty promises can no longer be accepted. It means transparency, honesty, and communication must become the key factors between students, faculty, staff, and administrators to addressing racist policies and structures that exist on this very campus. It means not calling each other out, but calling each other in to work as a community to addressing these deep-rooted issues that are intentionally racist. We must reform them so that every student on this campus has an equal opportunity to succeed in this world. Students have made it clear from this day onward that words of sympathy can no longer be accepted and action is the only thing that we will accept. Today, I have the honor of holding this piece of legislation, a resolution concerning declaring racism a public health crisis at the University of Connecticut. Crafted by the undergraduate student body, at this moment, the Speaker of the Student Senate and the student body president will certify and enact this declaration. Vice President Wursler will now deliver the legislation to Madam Speaker. I now have the distinct honor of introducing to you the student body president of UConn Stores, Mason Holland.
Hello, everybody. How you guys feel today? Okay, I know there's more people. I've done this like a couple times since we started this year. I say something, only a few people say something. I need to hear more energy. How are you guys feeling today? That's what I love to see. That's what I love to see. So the last time I was, here doing something like this, a part of something like this, it was 2 years ago, 2019, Mental Health Action Day, where UConn Collaborative Organizing, shout out UCO, and a host of other student organizations and groups came together to protest at the Board of Trustees meeting for more mental health services for students across campus, but particularly for students of color. And to see you guys here 2 years later, advocating along the same ends, declaring racism a public health crisis, it means a lot to students like me who've been doing this work for so long. So thank you for being out here today. Thank you for having the courage to stand with us. Thank you for walking out of your classes at 12 p.m. and giving credence to issues that so desperately need our attention and our focus. So why are we here today? Obviously, we're here to talk about these issues and address the change that we need to make in these regards, but what got us to this point? What got us to this point? I know who got us to this point. It was you. It was me. It was all of us as students, creating change for students, by students. Because when students stand up, when students say enough is enough, things change. Like my good friend Ethan Werschler always says, we are the ones who have grown tired of bringing truth to power, when we can simply recognize the power that we hold in ourselves. And that's what we're doing here today. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that it was easy. What you see here today, this beautiful setup, this piece of legislation, this has been weeks, months, years in the making. It's been characterized by bumps and ridges, and we have a couple of bruises to show for it as well, too. I'd be lying if I said we did. But we never lost sight of the reason for why we're doing this, and that's you all. And more importantly than those of you that stand here with us all today, we're doing this for the students that come after. The students who don't even know they want to go to UConn yet. The students who haven't even gone to middle school. Because what we do here today will last beyond our time here. Will last beyond any tenure, any term. It will last a lifetime. And when I think about the work that we do for students that are not here yet, I always harken back to this one quote that I thought of when I first began being a student activist. Be who you needed when you were younger. Do the things that you wish were done for you when you were younger. I wish we addressed racism as a public health crisis when I was a freshman. I wish we talked about the refugee camps before Afghanistan. I wish we talked about abolishing the 1033 program a long time ago. But here we are today. And let today, for students who are already engaged in change making, who have yet to start, let today be a testament to the power that you hold, that we all hold. And always remember that individually, we can create change. Individually, we can move the needle. But together, we can move mountains. So thank you. And as you just saw here today, the undergraduate student government of UConn Storrs has signed this resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. And now I call upon the administration of this university to join us in doing the same.
You're gonna have that? What a beautiful day in University of Connecticut. It's beautiful because of everything you see around you, but it's mostly beautiful because of all of you. You know, this sign beside me says, activism starts with students. And we've heard a little bit about the power that students have. I've said before that students not only speak truth to administrations, students are powerful enough to topple governments. And that's been shown across the world. You are extremely powerful and your voices matter. And we're here today because of that, because your voices matter to us. I want to thank the student government who have worked tirelessly, but most importantly, I want to thank them for coming to administration and saying, this is what we want, this is what we demand. A vibrant university is a lot more than just academics and athletics and all of the great things that you see around you. It's about social change. It's about social activism. It's about changing the world. And this is the time in your lives when you are the most powerful. You may not feel that way, but you are, and we listen. As interim president of the University of Connecticut, I am proud to stand in solidarity with our students. Thank you for declaring racism a public health crisis at UConn. I stand here today to say that we, as university administration, also declare racism a public health crisis at UConn. So again, I stand here, I want to thank student government for asking us to declare this. Thank you for wanting to change UConn as the first step to changing the world. As the students have pointed out to me and they've said earlier today, this is just the start of a process where together we apply a renewed focus towards addressing public health and other racism-related problems on our campuses and beyond. And by the way, if I didn't say so, my name's Andy. I'm the interim president. Despite our best efforts, racism and public health disparities exist everywhere, including here at University of Connecticut. These health-related disparities include food insecurity, mental health challenges, the results of socioeconomic challenges on health, the results of microaggressions and bias incidents on health, the results of climate change on marginalized populations, even before they arrive on our campus, and sometimes after they leave our campus. That is why diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and sustainability efforts are so important and are so often linked together. Addressing racism and public health issues at UConn means a number of things. It means we will come together, we, the collective we, all of us, including administration, will come together with student leaders and students and faculty and everybody else to assess what is being done today and what more can be done in the future. It means addressing hiring and training, access to services, we heard about mental health services, supporting our cultural centers, the Dodd Center, the Human Rights Institute, and countless staff, students, and faculty that seek to fight against the harms of racism. It involves continuing to improve the recruitment and retention of people of color throughout the university, including our healthcare programs, and our provost will share more about that shortly. It means that in STARS we have leaders dedicated to these issues who will work with students to make sure we are creating change together. Not talking about change, but creating change. We have people such as the Director of Health Equity and Access to Care within Student Health and Wellness, which is a new position, but there are many other ways that we can demonstrate our seriousness, and part of that is that I'm going to be personally involved with the students in creating change. It does mean focusing on racism and health in areas of scholarship, like the Anti-Black Racism course, which includes a module on health inequities, should I say. And it means working with our Health Disparities Institute at UConn Health and working closely with others such as the Greater Hartford Interfaith Action Alliance on issues of healthcare access. By recognizing that the threat that racism is a public health crisis, by recognizing that racism is a public health crisis at University of Connecticut, we aspire to bring scholarship, teaching, and services together to fulfill the expectations we have of UConn and each other. So I just want to end by saying something I've said when on the move-in weekend. Everybody is equal. Everybody is equal. We have to live that. We have to demonstrate that. We believe it, and we'll do it together. So today's rally is a true expression of those expectations. Thank you for your passion and commitment, and I look forward to working with you on this critical issue. Go Huskies.
Thank you, Andy Aguinobi. And with that, I'm now going to introduce to you our provost, Carl Lejuis.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks to all the students who have put so much effort in today. So I had prepared remarks, but I'm not going to read them. I think what's more important is that what you all hear is that, yes, today is the start of something where we're working together, but that it's not just your responsibility to bring this to us, that we are paying attention to this already, that we understand every day that racism is a public health crisis at UConn. It's not in the moments where we come together and students appropriately bring pressure for us to acknowledge it. It's what's happening 6 months ago, what's happening 18 months ago. And I will tell you, in meeting with our students about this issue, it's become very clear that one thing we've done really poorly is engage with you as students about what we are doing. Now, part of that is transparency and telling you what's happening, but part of it is going even one step further back and genuinely engaging and asking the question first, what does it mean for us to address these issues? Now, some things are obvious. I will tell you, with this year and last year, and with programs like the Anti-Racism Scholarship Cluster Hire and the Anti-Colonialism Cluster Hire, that there will be more diversity in our faculty starting with this year. There are other things that are happening and how we try to retain our faculty. So these efforts are underway, but we have not engaged students as part of solving the problem together. And so you have a commitment from me as provost, and I certainly know that President Aguinobi is fully behind this. Chief Diversity Officer Tuitt is fully behind this. Dean Doherty is fully behind this, that you will see greater engagement with us. There will be a different level of conversations, and we will work together with our students as problems, as what are the problems we're facing, not just here are the solutions and we're going to tell you about it. We can do better with that, and we will. And when it comes to the way in which we think about the other crisis that we have on our hands right now, COVID, this is particularly a place where racism as a public health crisis is really putting us at an existential moment, because we are experiencing much greater disparities as a result of the public health issues because of racism on our campus and elsewhere. So we will work on this together. You will see us. We will be engaged. I've had the opportunity to do this with our cultural centers. We've had the opportunity in the way that Vice President Tuitt is actually a part of our working teams and what we are doing. But we should be very clear. Today is really important because students brought this forward to us, but it should not always be your responsibility. It is our responsibility to bring it to you and work together. And we are committed to do that. And part of that is much clearer and greater communication of what the university is doing and being really honest about what we're getting wrong. Be really honest about where we're falling short. And President Holland, do we call you President Holland? How do we do that? All right. So Mason brought up the point, I want to be very direct. He brought up the point about the anti-Black racism course. And he's right. There is a struggle right now about, listen, this was an amazing course. We put it together with the real experts on this campus. And when I say we, I shouldn't even say we. They put it together. And it is one of the most successful courses we've had at the university, but it is not a required course. And there are a lot of barriers in the way. But that doesn't mean that we don't try to address them. It doesn't mean that we don't be really clear about where the contradictions are, where the confusions are, and to be really honest about what we can do and what we can't do. And at this moment today, I don't know the answer to that. But what I can tell you is we will be much more clear about it. We will be much more engaged about it. And what we end up with will be everything that we can do as a university because we genuinely believe in what you have brought here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much to administration for speaking here today. I now have the honor of introducing someone who is going to be the student response to what we just heard today from administration. This person is there's no other person that could do this response than this person. So without further ado, and that makes sense, but without further ado, I am going to introduce to you Hannah Ravenel.
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to see you all here today. I just wanted to share a few words. As someone who's a student here, I'm on the e-board for UConn Collaborative Organizing, and I'm also Vice President for Black Student Association. So I just wanted to share a few words about students' response and students' perception of what's happening here today. So today, the University of Connecticut has officially declared racism a public health crisis, and it's a huge step for the UConn community and a big win for the student activists who have worked tirelessly to accomplish this, many of whom are here and several others who have already graduated. Of course, we know that just as important as the visualization of goals and declarations are the material conditions and changes that result from them, which brings me to why I'm speaking today. I'm here to remind our president, all administrators, faculty, and staff that substantive declarations don't end with words. There are material conditions that need to be addressed and changed at the University of Connecticut, particularly involving public health and racism. Mental health services and support networks such as the Student Health and Wellness Center still require far more funds. The enhancement and mandating of the newly created anti-racism course still isn't nearly high enough in UConn priority as I hope it will be. Hiring more diverse and representative faculty and staff across departments to teach and address the needs of students similarly is a far more pressing need than is currently being responded to, and I hope this changes. The hiring of culturally competent and diverse clinicians for student health and wellness is an additional effort that is increasingly necessary. Creating and supporting initiatives to reduce food and housing insecurity alongside efforts to make the university more financially accessible in general must also be a focus. as these are areas that are clear sites of stress and anxiety that detrimentally affect students, particularly students of color, overall's health and well-being. And there's no longer an excuse for why UConn police are among those who arrive in response to mental health crisis calls, especially after the movements and protests during the summer of 2020. How can we claim our black and brown students are being protected, assert that their lives matter, while subjecting them to police presence in some of their most vulnerable and disorienting moments? UConn now needs to reckon with the ways in which its own policies, directives, funding allocations, and general inaction is actively harming its student body. It's beyond time to demonstrate a substantive and material change that the student body can tangibly feel. Under today's declaration, these no longer get to be areas of a lower ranked priority or just additional items on a UConn admin to-do list. The students here at the university in their best interest should be the center of collective focus and action. Students deserve to know that there are protocols in place to support them both in and out of moments of crisis. And this is especially true for students of color who in 2020, from the pandemic to the protests, experienced a disproportionately exhausting and painful year. And in 2021, we've seen the continuation of a variety of harms and devastations, most of which, again, have disproportionately affected the black community and, of course, by extension, the black students here at the University of Connecticut. I know that I personally stepped onto campus this semester carrying with me the heaviness of the past few months that have felt like years, and despite this and my best individual efforts to receive support beyond screening from the Student Health and Wellness Office, it was ultimately met with no response or follow-up, a problem that might not have occurred if my health was truly a priority here at this institution, which needs to change. There is so much work to be done and so much space for change to be materialized here. But it is imperative that the declaration being made today serve as a beginning, not an end, to the acknowledgement and addressing of student and faculty concerns. To the students here, I encourage you to reflect on your own and in community with your friends and fellow students about what you are entitled to here. You are all deserving of the best possible care and support in a living, learning, and social environment intentional about providing it. You deserve a community that fosters and encourages your safety and health, not detracts from it or ignores it. What comes next is being present to holding those able to make changes accountable in doing so. And I'm so glad to see you all out here today and hopeful that our collective efforts will bring about the university and space that we want to see and be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I now have the honor of introducing someone who has sparked so much activism on this campus, including in myself. For those who don't know, I'm the executive director of Power Up UConn, but I could not be that without the founding of Power Up Connecticut, which has been advocating and organizing in the streets around every corner of Connecticut since literally 2020 of the summer, where we saw that horrific video of George Floyd being murdered by a police officer. Every day since then, Corinne Prescott has been out on the street, literally almost every day, protesting against racist structures and systems that we unfortunately are forced to live in within our society. So without further ado, I have the honor of introducing a very prominent state activist in Connecticut, Corinne Prescott.
Y'all know I'm old because I wrote my speech. Y'all got laptops and stuff, not like I don't have one, but I like the old way. I always feel really nervous. This is not how I plan on starting my speech, but I'm so problematic, and I'm listening to the speeches, and I'm like, girl, you should have rewrote that speech. But we wouldn't be here, to be honest. You know, I'm gonna toot my own horn. But the truth is, yes, yes. We really wouldn't even be here if I wasn't as problematic as I am. And so with that being said, I'm gonna do what I need to do. It's only right that we start off with some chants. This is a rally for a peaceful planet. And I'm glad that it didn't say a peaceful rally, because the chant says no justice, no peace. And if we ain't got justice, then why the hell are we asking for a peaceful rally? And so I'm really glad that it says that we're rallying for a peaceful planet. So I'm ready to make some noise. I hope y'all are too. No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
No justice?
No peace.
Now listen, when I say speak, you say up. Speak,
Up.
speak,
Up.
speak.
Up.
When I say stand, you say up. Stand,
Up.
stand,
Up.
stand.
Up.
When I say show, you say up. Show,
Up.
show,
Up.
show.
Up.
When I say power, you say up. Power,
Up.
power,
Up.
power.
Up.
When I say fist, you say up. Fist,
Up.
fist,
Up.
fist.
Up.
UConn, the revolution has begun. UConn, the revolution will not be televised. UConn, the revolution isn't a 3-minute TikTok video. Shonda Rhimes once said a hashtag is not helping. A hashtag is not a movement. A hashtag does not make you Dr. King. A hashtag does not change anything. It's just a hashtag. I want to say to all of you today, walking out is not a movement. Walking out today does not make you Dr. King. Walking out doesn't change a damn thing. Walking out today isn't the revolution, but declaring racism a public health crisis is revolutionary. It's a start. It's another step in the right direction. Today, we send a message to the interim president that our voices, your voices, our lives, your lives, they matter. They matter more than the tens of thousands of dollars you are spending to attend this university. Today, we let the top know that if Black lives don't matter on this campus, then neither should your green dollars. In 2019, because if they don't understand any color, they understand green. In 2000, listen, they always say, I don't see color, but you see that. In 2019, students were arrested for using racial slurs. Then, not even a year after, protests and uprising after the murder of George Floyd, a UConn sorority member is accused of making racist remarks. In 2021, researchers found that many students feel the need to hide parts of their racial and ethnic background to fit in. UConn, the time is now. The time to take a stand against hate and racism has come. The time to declare racism a public health crisis has come. All the symptoms are there, from the hate crimes on campus, to the microaggressions in the classroom, to the lack of Black, brown, Asian, and indigenous professors. UConn, you cannot cure what you can't diagnose. The time is now to stop exploiting Black athletes to help you win national titles, but stay silent when they are begging, crying, demanding, and walking out to be heard. UConn, the time is now to pick a side. Either you are racist or you are anti-racist. Either you will show up, stand up, speak up, and power up by making this declaration, or go down in history standing on the wrong side. UConn, your silence is violence. The Black, Asian, Indigenous, Latinx students are watching and waiting, but they are growing weary. Making this declaration means you understand that it will aid in dismantling and eliminating racial and ethnic inequities across the campus. Racism has been declared a health crisis in Manchester, and in other many states and towns across the state. Racism has been declared a public health crisis in the state of Connecticut, thanks to organizations like Power Up, by passing SB 1. It's time for UConn to do what is morally and ethically right and make this declaration. Angela Davis said, in a racist society, it is not enough to be non-racist. We must be anti-racist. UConn, this rally is not enough. Making the declaration isn't enough. What is enough, you might ask? Making tuition more affordable so that more people have access to this prestigious university. Removing the refugee cap so we can take in not just folks from Afghanistan, but Haiti too. Making sure that hate crimes are treated as such and not brushing them under the rug by issuing a BS apology or mandating a performative diversity and equity training. Making sure UConn defunds the police department and invest in programs and services to address things like food insecurity and increasing mental health services for the many people who have survived sexual assaults on this campus. Making sure you hire Black, Latinx, Asian, Indigenous, queer, trans, gay, and differently able bodies. And yet, all of that still isn't enough, but it's a start. Repeat after me. I am. Y'all could do better than that. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Corinne. And now I have the wonderful opportunity to introduce to you the Student Development Director for the Undergraduate Student Government and Vice President of the Human Rights Symposium, Neha Sestu.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming out today. So I'm here to talk about the first of our 3 demands surrounding abolishing the 1033 program. On July 5th, 2016, Baton Rouge police shot and killed 37-year-old Alton Sterling while he was selling CDs outside of a convenience store. Months later, they received a military helicopter from the Law Enforcement Support Office. This is a scene that has played out countless times in police departments across the United States. Regardless of rising rates of police brutality, our government continues to militarize the police through the 1033 program. This program allows the Department of Defense to give state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies military weapons. Since its inception in 1996, 10,000 jurisdictions have received over $7 billion worth of weapons, including combat vehicles, rifles, and military helmets. These are the weapons that we all saw used against Black Lives Matter protesters during the summer of 2020. There is no accountability in this program. Police departments are held to arbitrary standards of civil rights compliance. The Department of Defense does an inadequate job of tracking where its weapons go and what they're even used for. In law enforcement agencies that use military weapons, officers are significantly more likely to be violent and kill the very civilians that they're supposed to serve and protect. 1033 was created to combat drugs, crime, and terror, America's forever wars. But in doing so, it has caused horrific violations of civil liberties, civil rights, and human rights over the last quarter century through mass incarceration and police killings. Our streets are not a battlefield, and our police are not an occupying force. The militarization of police is killing people, and it is making us, particularly Black, Indigenous, and people of color, less free and less safe. I am asking you all to join me in calling on Congress to abolish the 1033 program. Let us be the generation that ends the cycle of state-sanctioned violence against Black and brown communities. Let us be the generation that fights for freedom for all, not just freedom for some. Let us be the generation that fights for a brighter future, because we deserve one. Thank you. And I will now introduce our next speaker, the wonderful Speaker of the Senate, Irene.
Thank you, everyone. A little short for this. Okay, so I want to thank all of you for coming out today. This is so important, and in fact, it's monumental, because today, united on this lawn, we make history. When we speak about the refugee crisis, we often speak in metaphors. We speak of flows. We speak of systems. We speak of waves and trickles of refugees. The metaphors we use to discuss migration require us to think of migrants as an undifferentiated mass, and thus it becomes all the more simple and all the more tempting to forget the inherent humanity and dignity of each human person. This is why individual stories matter. My name is Irene, and I'm the daughter and granddaughter of Cypriot refugees. I'm one of millions of people displaced in some form by war and fundamentally shaped by it. Because of war, I was robbed of the right to grow up in my ancestral home. Because of war, I will always live in transience, lost somewhere between cultures and identities rather than secure within one. Because of war, I will never know the orchards that my grandfather spent his life savings to grow. Because of war, I will never bathe in the sparkling waters of my father's childhood. War, or at least the absence of peace, knows only how to take, and refugees experience this more than most. But in spite of all this, hope prevails, and this rally is a testament to that. We are a testament to that. In my native language, my name is Irene, which is Irini, which means peace. For this to be my given name, in a community where peace has been absent for so long, is a symbol of the hope for a peaceful future that even those most deeply affected by war continue to maintain. In this sense, today we stand at the precipice of change and hold in our hands the opportunity to meaningfully shift legislative priorities in favor of a more peaceful future. In our hands, we hold hope. War has taken enough. Today, we take back. Today, we demand peace, and peace cannot exist as long as we deny refuge to those who seek it. On September 30th, Congress passed a continuing resolution that includes funding to support Afghan refugees arriving to the United States and to ensure that Afghans arriving on humanitarian parole have access to refugee resettlement benefits. This is a critical step to ensuring that refugees have the resources they need to thrive and pursue a peaceful future. But Congress's work is not complete. Standing here today, we join Amnesty International in calling on Congress to pass an Afghan Adjustment Act to establish a roadmap to citizenship for Afghans and to use all channels possible to press the Biden administration to admit a minimum of 200,000 refugees this fiscal year. We call on our representatives to designate Afghanistan for temporary protective status, and we call on our representatives to use all diplomatic means to press Afghanistan's neighbors to open their borders to Afghan refugees. Just as importantly, however, protecting Afghan refugees must not come at the expense of Congress and the Biden administration abandoning its legal and moral responsibility to other migrants at risk. Most recently, we have seen Haitians seeking safety were brutalized and forcibly removed back to Haiti. This is unacceptable. We call today on the Biden administration to immediately end the Title 42 expulsions, halt all deportations to Haiti, and reestablish the right to seek asylum at the southern border. As a nation that systematically profits off of the exploitation and the exploitative policies which exacerbate refugee crises around the world, from the Middle East to Southeast Asia to Central and South America and Africa, we hold a distinct ethical responsibility to address the refugee crisis head on. As a nation built on the narrative of prosperity through immigration, as a nation constructed on the backs of immigrants, as a nation heralded as the ultimate leader on the international playing field, we must act, and we must act now. Let's be the generation that gets this right. Let's be the generation that brings peace. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Senna Wazer. I am the co-director of Sunrise Connecticut and a senior environmental studies student here at UConn. I'm here today to talk about climate change and how it is deeply intersectional with the demands that we just laid out for you. But first, I want to tell you how I ended up here today. Sorry about the wind. In 2018, when I was 14 years old, I read about the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. The report said three main things. We need to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. 2 degrees Celsius of warming would be catastrophic, and we had 12 years, now 9, to prevent the worst consequences of the climate crisis. I had always known that climate change was a thing, that it was happening, but I hadn't realized just how pressing it was until that moment. I immediately thought of how old my sister and I will be in 9 years. She'll be 24. I'll be 26. Like all of you, we will still be so young, in many ways just starting our lives. I was scared when I read that report. I didn't know what to do. Climate change is, after all, such a big and complicated issue. But soon I joined the Sunrise Movement. became involved with climate activism because each of us has a critical role in the fight for our future. We're here today because we know that racism is a public health crisis. But racism, climate change, other environmental issues, they don't act separately. Instead, they disproportionately affect Black communities, Indigenous communities, and other communities of color, while being disproportionately caused by wealthy white communities. We're here today because we believe that refugees deserve to be welcomed into this country. Like many of you, I come from a family of refugees and immigrants. I understand to some extent the trauma that is inflicted when you are forced to leave your home country because of circumstances outside of your control. And so countries like the US should be working to ensure that people are able to safely stay in the country of their choice. But instead, we're contributing to climate change, a crisis disproportionately caused by Western countries like the US, while the effects are disproportionately felt in countries who have contributed the least. The injustices of climate change go on and on. But standing here today with all of you, I am reminded of the power of the people. I am reminded of the power of students and our collective voices. I'm reminded of why I do this work. Yes, because I am afraid of climate change and the impact it will have on our future, but also because I believe in something better. Because I believe in a world where the pain and suffering that we have experienced over the last year because of COVID, because of climate change, because of racism is not present. Because I believe that climate justice is racial justice, is economic justice, is gender justice, is immigration justice. And we are here today because we know that change needs to happen at all levels. The university where we are students, the university dedicated to providing us with an education, has just declared racism a public health crisis, but needs to follow that up with real meaningful steps to make sure that students of color are safe and welcome here. We need to know that when committees are formed, such as the one formed after the September 20th climate strike here at UConn, to address student concerns, that student involvement will be maintained on those committees, that the final report will be easily accessible, and that action steps generated will be acted upon. We need the state to welcome refugees and act upon the climate crisis in a way that is in line with the science and prevents future catastrophes which only cause a greater refugee crisis. And we need the federal government to act too, not only to end the 1033 military program and remove the refugee cap, but also to treat climate change like the crisis it is, not something that can be negotiated away. We need action, something that can be hard to achieve. But I also know that youth have been at the forefront of just about every movement in history. We showed up, we led, we ensured that change happened. And so I know that we will not fail this time. That again, we will be at the forefront of this movement for peace, for security, and for justice. Thank you. And with that, I will pass it off to the next speaker, Natalie from Praxis.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. I'm the president of UConn Praxis, and I'm here to talk about student activism today. So I have some things written, but seeing you all here, being down, handing out signs, listening to the amazing activists behind me, it feels unfitting to try and put words to activism. As we all know, it's not a word, it's not something we talk about, we tweet about. Activism is an action. It's a commitment to make change, to be something better, to make something better. And there's never been anybody better at that commitment than students. There were students in the 70s here on this campus protesting, and there will be students after we are all gone here doing it. You might not know this, but this campus is not the only place this rally is happening. There are students, in Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, across this country, also pressuring for the demilitarization of their communities. They are pressuring for the removal of the unethical refugee caps. Those students are making their community better. They are making their states better. The way we today are here to make our community better, make our state better. With you all standing here today, UConn is going to be better. It is going to be better for Black, Indigenous, people of color coming forward. Those students, UConn is going to be what it should have always strived to be because you are here today. That is student activism. And while things may be better, there will always be more to do. Those issues of racism, food insecurity, all the other issues I'm sure we all know about are going to persist without student activism, without student voices, without student votes, without students putting on the pressure to make it better. So I thank you all for coming out today and being activists. And I challenge you all to continue to make yourself better, make your community better, make your activism better. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. We want to thank you for taking the time and for showing solidarity. To all those in the lawn, from students to faculty to staff to community leaders, we want to thank you for taking the time to come out to the rally. We want to thank you for taking the amazing advocacy steps that you've taken to be part of the organizations that you're a part of. We want to thank you, USG, Power Up, UConn Praxis, Sunrise CT, Fridays for Future, UCO, and UConn Human Rights Symposium for organizing this event, because this is a collaborative event and it could not be done without the work of students coming together. We're much stronger, as Mason said earlier, when we're united. We hope that this rally will serve as a quintessential model for how activism can best be pursued in solidarity and in collaboration. We would also like to acknowledge and thank the wonderful team of university administrators who are joining us today, including but not limited to President Aguinobi, Provost Lejue, VP and CDO Tuitt, and Dean Doherty. We are uniquely fortunate to attend a university that is such a leader in the sphere of human rights and that extends equally to the enthusiasm with which the administration has welcomed our calls to action today. We gathered on this lawn today to demand common sense steps towards a more peaceful future. We gathered to demand action, to demand change. Students in solidarity with faculty, in solidarity with staff, in solidarity with administrators, in solidarity with representatives, in solidarity with our community. As the rally comes to a close, we will continue to advocate for this change, to our increased overinflated military-industrial complex, to the misconceptions which lead us to forget that our actions abroad impact our futures at home, to the structure of the institutions which have for so long perpetuated barriers to equal opportunity, to the policies, to the sentiments, and to the rhetoric which synergistically dehumanize our neighbors and selectively exclude some, but not others, from a chance at peace.
There will be those who look at us today and call us naive. They'll say that we are too idealistic, that we don't understand the full implications of what we ask for, that we are chasing an unattainable utopian fantasy. To that we say, world peace certainly is an incredibly complex objective, one that is so deeply multifaceted that it has repeatedly stumped even the most brilliant minds and evaded even the most committed of activists. But even the greatest of change necessitates baby steps. And baby steps begin with us. At the beginning of this rally, we outlined 3 of these steps. The rally's not even over, and we've already achieved 1. Now it is time to achieve the other 2. And from there, we'll keep on going. We'll write to our representatives, petition our legislators, and demand action and accountability from those who exist to represent us. In the crowd today, we're joined by a number of amazing representatives who have taken the time out of their busy schedules to join us in advocating for a more peaceful future. We encourage you to speak with them while they're here, and to stop by the tabling station we've set up so that you can contact your other representatives using the scripts that we've created.
We would also like to draw your attention to the numerous additional opportunities and resources that UConn currently provides through which you can advocate for more of these issues. Beyond clubs and learning communities, you can get more involved in human rights advocacy through Global Affairs and the Human Rights Institute. In a time where polarization poses a severe threat to the dialogue necessary for fundamental structural change, such as that which the rally targets, programs such as the Democracy and Dialogues Initiative offered through DOD Human Rights Impact and the Abrahamic programs offered through Global Affairs serve as valuable opportunities to start peace building at home by learning how to engage peacefully with one another. From an academic standpoint, we of course encourage you to enroll in the one-credit anti-Black racism course, but there are a plethora of courses that we recommend additionally exploring to gain a deeper understanding of the issues that we discussed today. Check out the tabling stations for more information on ways that you can get involved on campus. So to close, yes, world peace is a huge ideal. It is massive and intimidating and very easy to dismiss as unattainable. But you only live once. And if you only have one life to live, it's on you to make sure that that life was worth living. It is on you to make sure that that life was well spent. And it is on you to make sure that you did all you could during that life to have the greatest impact for the greatest good. Let us be the generation that changes our foreign policy. Let us be the generation that demands peace-oriented legislation. Let us be the generation that forges baby steps that get us to the greater goal. And let us be the generation that pushes humanity closer and closer to world peace. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.